Hello everyone, it's TripleZHacker here, and we are back with the Shogunate Total War Tournament 2020. Today I have a great match to provide some analysis and commentary on for you guys, but before we get into the actual battle, be sure to subscribe to check out the rest of the tournament coverage on my channel, as well as tons of other Shogun 2 videos. Also check the links in the description to subscribe to Smotheredrun's YouTube channel, who will also be covering the tournament. Now without further ado, let us begin with the first battle. Alright, so for this video, things are going to be going a bit differently in terms of how we analyze and review the match. And that's because I'm actually the player playing in it. And so we're going to go over my tactics, my thought process, and I'm going to try to teach you guys as much as I can about Shogun 2 Total War multiplayer. So I hope you enjoy that aspect of this video. And I know it's going to be dragging out a bit, but I really want to make the content that way. And so I really hope you guys, once again, really enjoy what I provide in terms of, how I go about playing my matches. And really, I think this is going to be one of my favorite matches to discuss because it was such a fun one. Anyways, let's get into the first battle right here. So, of course, representing the Ogigayatsu, we have myself, TripleZHacker, and representing the Ito on this side, we have SaintStalinthePope. And this map is Koyasan Temple, which is one of my favorites. It has two key buildings in the center. We have the workshop and the archery dojo here. Now, the terrain's pretty varied because you have high ground descending to this low ground area. You got trees all on this side and this side, so it offers a lot of unique opportunities to hide units, set some traps and ambushes for your opponent, etc. Anyways, let's go into the army composition. So I'll go over the army I brought first. So over here, I got 4 cav units here hidden in the woods. I got some Great Guard, and then I have 3 Yari cav. For my infantry, I got some Yari Samurais, a Vanguard here. Then I have a set of Naginata Samurai. I got some Naginata Warrior Monks, and then, of course, I have 4 Nodachis. So 3 Naginata Sam, 3 Naginata Warrior Monks, 4 Nodachis. A pretty balanced rush army, I would say, with, sort of an emphasis on the Nodachis and the monks being the primary, offensive melee units. The Naginata Samurai here are just sort of anti-cav and sort of tanks, to take damage, so to speak, to really just get into the middle of the fighting and just sit there and hold the line for as long as possible. Now, for the cav selection here, of course, just going Yari cav, because again, we want anti-cav and we want charge bonus, so that's why you go Yari cav over Katana cav in this particular situation. But again, this is sort of the standard rush build, with the variation being that I have the Naginata Samurai just as an extra balancing force to the army I have constructed. Now let's go over here to my opponent and look at their army composition. So over here we have some Great Guard and Yari cav. Then in the back we have some more Yari cav and Great Guard, so that's 4 units right there of cav. So their cav is better than mine because of the 2 Great Guard. Now let's get into the infantry. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Nodachi Samurai, and we got 2 Naginata Warrior Monks, and then we got some Matchlock Ashigaru. So the Nodachis have been really popular throughout this tournament, and what I'm going to do and explain in this video is why I think bringing a ton of Nodachis can be beneficial, but ultimately isn't the ideal format for multiplayer. In terms of actually bringing this army composition, it's lacking, and there's a glaring weakness, and we're going to exploit that. Anyways, let's get the battle underway here. And of course, we'll speed things up a bit. So right off the bat, you send your Yari Samurai out, put them, with rapid advance to go towards the dojo. Since the archery dojo isn't helpful to any of my units, right? I don't have any single missile unit. We're going straight for the workshop. Because why even contest the archery dojo? That's useless. Like, there's no need to send anything over there. Also, we're going to go back to normal speed so I can really talk through some of the things I'm doing here for you guys. Immediately, I'm sending the cav out here. Typically, I would just have them as a trap and stuff, but in this point, I'm trying to bait my opponent's cav over here. Now, Stalin does a great job of sending his entire force as well, immediately out to the open. I have my Yari Samurai here. I'm immediately going to send them over to this left side because that's where this cav is. So you want to send your spears over just to prevent this cav from going this way and disrupting my infantry from advancing forward. You got the matchlocks here moving up right at the start. So that's why I don't have my Nodachis at the front, but I really kind of have some warrior monks and some other units here, but they are moving closer to the front. But again, I want to stay out of range of those matchlocks right here. And so this is something to keep in mind when moving your forces together. And of course, I have them in a concentrated bunch formation. I have my general behind. So my general is protected, safe away from the front line, everything like that to start things off. Now my cav is kind of charging here because I think maybe I can catch my opponent off guard. I have my other cav in reserve here because I don't want to reveal that I have this extra cav just yet. Now, again, when looking at the battle so far, my opponent is in a good position to take this dojo. But right now, I'm trying to take this high ground here. Because if you look on the map, I want my Nodachis to be able to charge downhill right here down the slope. And so that's one of the things you want to keep in mind when you're deploying your troops is what is the terrain, right? And so this is a key moment here in this battle. I want to set up my forces on this ridge here so that way I can have that extra charge bonus coming down with the Nodachi. And that's something you want to keep in mind when you bring all these Nodachis right here and stuff. And that's something you want to keep in mind with terrain, especially throughout every battle. Anyways, let's keep this going forward. So again, just force concentration on this side of the dojo. I don't want my troops to get trapped trying to fight through this side of the dojo. My Yari Samurai here are going to hold only this side of the dojo, and we're going to concentrate everybody else on this side. I get a nice cav charge right here, so this Yari cav gets a really good charge into the Great Guard and everything like that. I may not win this cav engagement. My opponent does a really great job of bringing Yari Samurai over here to get involved with this cav fight. I'm losing that cav fight. In the meantime, my Naginata Warrior Monks get shot by some matchlocks. That's okay. I got my Nodachis coming in and charging. We're going to initiate the combat here, and I'm going to capture the workshop because my opponent's troops aren't in this little circle, preventing me from capturing it. And here I got a cav charge against some other cav right here, and as you can see, even the Nodachis as well. This isn't really the greatest a cav charge right here by me. This is really not the greatest. It really isn't, but it works for the meantime. And then we solidify this line here. Now my opponent is bringing up their monks. I'm bringing up mine, bringing some Yari Samurai over here to hold this side. I'm not winning this side, but I'm going to win this side. And that's kind of my whole point. I accidentally messed up with a regroup position there. I don't know why I did that. But anyways, so let's pause the battle here again and just go over some stuff. So again, I'm purposely losing this flank right here. Purposely losing this side so I can win this side. And as you can see, if you look on the map, my opponent's got a unit right here of Yari Samurai just way off in the distance here. Useless, right? I have all my troops here at this battle, except for this one Naginata Samurai, which is running over on this side to help support because I know I'm losing this side. And so again, it's more of I want to capture the workshop, but no one has it yet. But I'm hoping that I can capture it. And at the same time, I'm trying to win this side as badly as I can and just push through and outnumber. And so as we can see, let's just review the numbers, right? We have 1, 2 infantry units against 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. Right now, like engaged in combat. We have like 3 or 4 units in reserve here, not fighting yet. And then on this side, we got 1, 2 units of cav, a unit of Yari Samurai. I got some Naginata Warrior Monks here. I got more Nodachis, and again, I got some other troops here, and I got 2 calves. So right now, I just completely outnumber my opponent on this side, and even these troops over here are not really engaged in the key part of the fight here, because what I'm doing is I'm pushing straight for this general. That's exactly what I'm doing. You want to go for the throat, the jugular, so to speak, of your opponent's forces. And again, you got some matchlocks firing over here. This isn't really that great of an angle, and they're just going to not do anything. At the same token, you can see I've broken this side. I've completely broken this side. This cav goes over here, and it's heading straight for my general and stand and fight. They're not going to kill my general and stand and fight right off the bat with the first charge, but I was certainly worried at this point. I was very worried. I was, screaming on stream, oh God, I might lose this. I might lose this, because this is a really good charge downhill. Like, this is a really good charge in my general. And this is very bad for me. But at the same time, I'm winning this fight enough over here that I'm not entirely worried. But again, it's still either way. The more important thing is that I'm getting my cav into the back of these matchlocks and then going to go for an hammer and anvil here, which is what this cav probably should have done, is hammered and anviled, instead of going for my general right off the bat, because now they're going to be stuck in melee versus my general. I'm going to get some Nodachis over to help. And again, they're not going to do enough damage to my general in time to rout my general. And the same token here, we've won this side completely. Now, I didn't get to the Ito general right here. I did not get to the Ito general. But right again, we have a forced concentration. How many units are left engaging in the fight? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units right here compared to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe. And then I add to mine 10, 11, right? So we got like 11 versus 8. So just based off numbers alone, I'm doing pretty good. If we zoom in here, we can kind of see how the combat's unfolding. I got some Nodachis here charging into these katanas. And again, so these Katana Samurai here, I think I might have count them in the Nodachis, but they're not going to be able to hold. And these matchlocks here can fire all they want. I'm more protecting my general, but as you can see, I just have way more troops in the fight. And that's the biggest thing. I just have way more troops in the fight. It's the forced concentration here along this line. As you can see, these Yari Samurai are not going to kill my general, nor are they going to kill any of these units around them. They're going to rout as well because this whole line has just collapsed. And once again, these matchlocks are going to rout because they're surrounded by so many troops. And then we finally get to the general. We finally get to the general, and you can see this Yari Samurai didn't get into the fight in time. And so once again, it's just about getting as many troops as you can into the fight right away as soon as possible and contesting and fighting and gritting and just, making as much, chaos as you can. And at the same time, protecting your general and trying to get your opponent to get troops out of the fight. You can see like the Cav kind of going around this way and then charging into my general took them out of the fight long enough to help my troops win in melee. And that's something that's really crucial. Now, going for the general there is a smart play, but what you want to do is you want to cycle charge. You want to charge at the general and then immediately pull out. You don't want to continue fighting the general in melee. But anyways, that's kind of breaking down that opening battle as best I can. I know like the events happen quickly, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to get as many troops as you can fighting as much as possible and fighting in key, really specific moments. And so again, there, it's kind of like letting this flank go for the sake of pushing through on this side. Now, there are times when you want to have like a completely balanced line and, defending all aspects of the battle. But in this particular instance, I wanted to just break through at a certain point. I wanted to break through my opponent's line because then I can flank with infantry. I can flank with my cav. And again, it's really just about trying to get your opponent to use their units in a way that isn't efficient or isn't optimal. You want to optimize your battles and you want to optimize using your units and using as many units as possible at the same time and simultaneously. And so there, I used as many units as I could. Now, eventually I went back and defended my general. Had I not defended my general soon enough, the battle could have gone differently. And as you can see, it was pretty close and pretty tight contest throughout. Anyways, that's the first match. Stalin played it really, really well. It was, again, just a nail biter. I know it looked like I had a lot of troops at the end, but trust me, it's more of just like the mass routing system of Shogun 2 showing that. Anyways, let's now go into the second battle of this match. All right, so for the second battle of this match, we are on the map Kanto Plains, which is a personal favorite of mine. And I'm going to take a little bit of time to elaborate on why this map is one of my favorite maps and why it's one of the best maps in Shogun 2 multiplayer, in my opinion. So bear with me. Just looking at the map, you can see it's a very flat map with a ton of space. It's got some trees to hide some units, but it's just an open field. And this really epitomizes kind of Shogun 2 multiplayer in a way because maps like this really favor an aggressive playstyle and a rush army playstyle, which I think is largely the best playstyle for Shogun 2 in general. Now, of course, there are other playstyles and you can play with skirmishing and other things of that nature, but generally it really depends on terrain and other things that benefits that type of playstyle. But as you can see, just the game in general, if you look at the units, like, what are they all missing? Well, one of the things they're missing shields. And so without shields, the combat of Shogun 2 is so much quicker in comparison to other Total War games. And that's something you have to keep in mind as a player, right? And so that's why aggressive playstyles, and that's why you see like a ton of people bringing Nodachis and things in this tournament, really is pivotal to the gameplay. Now, the other reason that this map is so good for this tournament format and for multiplayer in general is because of the position of key buildings. I haven't talked about this much really, but key buildings is really what sets Shogun 2 multiplayer apart from a lot of the other Total War multiplayer scenes. And as you can see, the key buildings really incentivize the players to go for key positions, capture them, not to camp, things of that nature. And for this map, the key buildings are in the center of the map. Neither player has an advantage to getting towards them, except it's just the same distance to the center. And so, really, in a sense, it's a very even playing field in that regard. You see, like in other Shogun 2 multiplayer maps, they have the position of the key buildings closer to the deployment zone or things of that nature. And whenever that happens, there's almost like an RNG aspect to it where it's like, oh, like I got the archery dojo near me and my opponent got the shrine, but like I have no missile units. So like this is useless to me. And you've seen that like in previous tournament matches and stuff. And I pointed that out kind of subtly from time to time. But that's why this map is so good, because of where the key buildings are positioned. So both I and my opponent, SaintStalinthePope here, have an equal opportunity to get to these key buildings and use them. And that's something that's really essential to Shogun 2 multiplayer and something you have to keep in mind when choosing your maps or like when going to certain maps. Like, oh, where is the position of the key buildings and how does that, affect the battle? Now, in this instance, we have two key buildings for this map. We have the shrine and we have the sword dojo. These are the two best key buildings in the tournament, I feel like. And the reason for that is the shrine, of course, morale is essential to Shogun 2 victory, so you have to have morale. And then melee attack and charge of all units is really great because, as I said earlier, like the sword units, the cav units, like they're really good in this game if they're not countered properly. So the sword dojo is just generally great overall for all your units, and I think it beats the workshop out slightly. Now, the archery dojo can be argued as one of the best dojos, depending on your army composition and things of that nature. But for this tournament and for land battles in general, missile units are really, really good, but you have to use them really well in order to succeed. Anyways, sorry about that little tangent, but I'm just trying to give you guys a sense of why Shogun 2 multiplayer and key buildings in like your map selection is so essential to winning you the battle. Anyways, with that in mind, let's go over my army composition here with the Ogigayatsu, because I submitted the replays, so we can't see the Ito army just yet, but as the battle progresses, we'll see them and I'll go over their army. Anyways, let's go over the Ogigayatsu and what I brought. So we have 4 Nodachi Samurai, we have 3 Katana Samurai, we have 3 Naginata Warrior Monks. Over on this side, we have a Great Guard, 2 Yari Cav, and on this side, we have Yari Cav and 2 Yari Cav. And then on this side, we have some Yari Ashigaru. Now, why do I bring this army setup? Well, the reason I brought this army setup was it's a balanced rush army. And what I mean by a balanced rush army is it incorporates all the aspects of like a balanced army except the missile units. So that's why it's a rush army. But here we have the cannon fodder, right? Or the sort of the frontline unit that I'm not worried about losing. And this is the Yari Ashigaru. I'm sending this Yari Ashigaru right here to the shrine. I want them to take the shrine. They're going to contest the shrine. But at the end of the day, like if they die, they die. And I have my cav here. I have 5 cav. Typically, the more cav you bring, the diminished return there is. So you want to try to stay like between 6 to 4 cav, I think. If you bring 6 cav, you're kind of pushing it. But I have, 5 cav here. The cav, of course, using, as anti-cav, using as decoy, using as bait, using to hammer an anvil, or to, hit missile units. So that's kind of what the cav is essential for, and they're really quick and mobile, so any rush army or any aggressive playstyle has to have cav. Now for my melee units, why did I choose the units I chose? Well, okay, so we got the 4 Nodachis here, right? This is the front line. They're going to charge. They're going to just go into combat, bonsai, etc. Just kill as many people as they can. Next, we have the Katana Samurai. They have a bit of armor. They're going to support the Nodachi as soon as possible. They're going to hold the front line just in case these Nodachis break once their bonsai runs out, etc. The next line is we have the Naginata Warrior Monks. They have low armor, so we're going to protect them from missile fire. But there really are auxiliary troops. They have a ton of morale. They're going to go on the flanks. They're going to secure key positions. They're going to war cry to weaken the morale of our enemy, and they're also going to be used as anti-cav. So they're going to protect from the hammer and anvils in the back of our lines. Because if I send our spears to the front, then when the cav charges in, I can't bring a spear unit to protect the flank of the infantry line. So that's why we have the Naginata warrior monks in the back. Anyways, I know that was long-winded and a bit convoluted for you guys, but I hope that gives you a sense on kind of how I play Shogun 2 and how I construct my armies and everything. Anyways, let's finally now get into the battle. And we're going to speed things up because this battle is crazy and happens rapidly, but we're going to speed up the beginning. So immediately right off the bat, I send the Yari Ashigaru out here towards the shrine. Usually it's a Yari Samurai, but this time I wanted to bring Ashigaru just to bring more offensive infantry units. Here I have my forces really concentrated, as you can see, heading straight for the Sword Dojo. My opponent here does something that is kind of a bit of a counter to the force concentration sometimes, and that is spreading your units out quite a bit and then sort of enveloping my units. And that's something that you can do, is kind of like enveloping someone who concentrates all their forces together and getting around and flanking. And so that's what I think Stalin's doing here. But let's review the Ito army composition real briefly. So over here on the flanks, we have two Yari Cav and a Great Guard. Then we have some Yari Samurai. On this side, we got some Yari Samurai, and then we got some Great Guard and some Yari Cav. In the center, we got a bunch of Nodachi Samurai. We got some Matchlocks here, and then, of course, we got some Naginata Warrior Monks. So a hybrid rush army for sure. And one of the biggest things that's a counter to rush armies is putting spears on the flanks. So this is really good by putting the Yari Samurai on the flanks. This forces the cav units that I have not being able to go around. And if they do go around from the combat, they're going to be out of the battle for too long. So that funnels in all of my units to the center, especially my cav units. Now, the counter to this, of course, is sending your sword units out to the side to deal with the cav, right? But at the end of the day, you want your sword units in the center fighting your opponent's sword units. So it's really sort of a countering system, so to speak. Like, I have a counter for this and then like another counter for that. It's almost like a Uno reverse kind of thing, if you guys get what I mean by that. But anyways, I send my cav out here. And so again, you know, with his cav being here and then the spears supporting, it's going to be really tricky for me to win this fight. So I have to bring my spears over to support my cav. Now, at the same time, I have my forces kind of concentrated here. I don't want them to get bunched up, and then I also don't want these matchlocks really to get off a good volley against anything, but they're going to get off a volley against something. But immediately I'm like, I'm dipping out of here, right? My cav is useless kind of over on this far flank. So I send them over here to sort of just put like cover and get ready to maybe help me with the melee fight or something like that. But I bring these Yari Ashigaru over here just to kind of prevent my opponent from using their cav and flanking around too. At the same time, I know I'm going to lose this Ashigaru unit. All right, so these matchlocks open fire. They kill a good amount of my Nodachis here, but again, it's kind of the Nodachis, put them on Bonsai and just send them into the front line. Here, though, this is a bit of a poor attack by me, but again, it's a wide enough of an attack that it works. And right here, this is a gamble. This is a gamble. I send my cav in straight to these katanas. This is a huge gamble, and this is actually really bad by me. I'm going to critique myself heavily in this. But this is really bad. I only should send one Yari Cav unit here. I don't need to send them both. Because this one Yari Cav right here is just going to charge in these katanas, and this Yari Cav is going to charge into the back of my own Cav units. They're not even really going to charge into anything. So again, I only need to send one Cav unit here. I don't need to send them both. So that's a bit of a mistake on my part. The next thing, of course, is I always support, you know, my initial Nodachi's attack. And again, my opponent has like their units kind of lingering in the back. So they're not in the fight just yet. So maybe I can break these Nodachis, but they do have Bonsai still. And again, this is really bad by me keeping my Cav fighting here because now my opponent charges in their Cav and they're done. They're absolutely done. They're unsupported right here. Unsupported. And this is really bad Cav play by me. Again, as soon as I charge one in, bring the other over this way, bring the other one out, leave all four of these units here to die. Right? Like, leave all four of these Ito units here just to run into the fight. Like, get this Cav out of here and bring them over here to the main fight. Right? And again, like, same with this Yari Ashigaru unit here. They're just here to die. Like, if I lose the shrine, I lose the shrine. I know I don't want to, but at the same time, maybe my opponent won't take it. Right? Maybe my opponent will try to get into the fight. Like, I just want to win this fight as soon as possible. I want, like, these two cav units here really shouldn't be here. They really shouldn't be here. They should be brought over this way and, like, pushing through this center line here, and I can just ignore this side entirely and just wait for these units to come over here. But if I win this quick enough, these units over here, whenever they get to flanking, it's going to be too late. That's the plan, right? But, you know, I play this poorly and I send my cav over here just to die. Really bad play by me. Anyways, though, I send this cav this way and to push through this flank as much as I can, right? Like, my opponent's cav is disengaged. I'm just going to push through here, go straight for the general, maybe just try to win this side as best I can. At the same time, my entire left flank is collapsing, and this is bad because I haven't won this right flank in time yet. So at the same time, it's almost like this is going really, really poorly for me. And on stream, I was just livid. I was going crazy. I thought I was going to lose this for sure right here, and it really looks bad for me because this entire side's collapsing. My opponent's still holding here. You know, I got these Naginata Warrior Monks over here doing nothing after winning that and rushing over. Now my general is getting hit by a charge. And this is so bad, right? Like, he's gotten to my general. I've kind of gotten to his general, but he's got units protecting his general. He's got one Yari Cav in here fighting. Now, again, this charge was really devastating because I have 9 people left in my general's unit. Like, if my general routes, this battle's over, so to speak. But again, you know, this Yari Samurai is all the way over here, not in the fight. This Katana Samurai is still getting over here. And this Cav unit, why did it charge out and go all the way over here? This cav unit should be going over here and helping in the main fight. So again, my opponent's making slight little mistakes here that's costing them a bit, and my general is still alive barely. I'm still winning barely. And over here, you know, we got another charge with the Great Guard, but this Great Guard is going to charge, and it's going to be a bad angle, right? Like, they're charging into nothing, and they're just going to get stuck into melee, and my general is still going to be fighting for a bit. And then I bring my units over here, and my opponent has to pull out, so to speak. But now I've gotten my infantry over to this side and I've won this engagement over here. And so winning this engagement over here, now my opponent, Stalin, all he has left is cav. And all I have left is infantry. And so I'm going to win this because I have the infantry left. And so my general is routed, but it's okay because my opponent's general has routed too. As you can see, these cav charges are going to be enough, right? Even though I have some sword units, I still have some monks. And they're going to hold off just long enough for me to win this. And same with these Yari Samurai rushing over here. And as you can see, there you go. It looks like I'm going to secure this victory. Even my general unit is like still holding on for dear life. And my general's still alive. Look at him sitting there. So as you can see, right there is a perfect example of kind of how when you have units that are like in the battle, right? But they're not in the battle really. They're not actually fighting. And that's the problem. You want as many units as possible in the fight. And so you can see like having the Great Guard off to the side charging to my general there just was the wrong decision by Stalin. He should have charged into the back of all this infantry and things like that. So again, it's just the little tiniest mistakes that cost you the outcomes of the battle. And that's the hugest thing when it comes to Shogun 2 multiplayer. Anyways, I know I didn't show the action so much in these battles, so I do hope you guys really appreciated the breakdown of tactics and stuff. I'm going to be doing that a lot with my matches, whereas with the other matches, of course, we'll be getting to the action and the grittiness and the combat aspect of it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, you guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more tournament coverage.